G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today I'm going to run through with you all the best defenders, midfielders and forwards to buy for Game Week 37. I've got a few surprise inclusions and exclusions for you, so hold on to your hats. Before we get into the best defenders, midfielders and forwards to buy, I just want to give you a quick rundown of where the table is at the moment and what the stipulations are for qualifying for the European places to show you what teams are still fighting for things in the Premier League. Now, at the moment, as you can see here, the top 5 will qualify for Champions League this year due to the performance of English clubs in Europe. The 6th place team will gain entry to the Europa League. And then where things get interesting is the 7th and 8th place teams in the Premier League. Now, if Manchester City do manage to beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup final, the Europa League place for the team that wins the FA Cup will go to the next highest place finisher in the Premier League, which will be 7th position. If Crystal Palace, however, manage to win the FA Cup final, they will get the second available place for the Europa League, and 7th place will be a Conference League spot. If Manchester City again beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, the 8th position will then gain entrance into the Conference League. If Crystal Palace do manage to beat Man City in the FA Cup final, then they will take that Europa League spot. The 7th place will be the Conference League, and the 8th place will have no European football whatsoever. So that 8th place spot is what Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth and Fulham are all playing for, potentially Crystal Palace, although they're basically out of it now. They are all hoping that Manchester City win the FA Cup final. If they win the FA Cup final, all 4 of them still have something to play for. If that doesn't happen, then all 4 of those teams will no longer have any European football to play for in the league. Now, moving on to the best defenders to buy for you for this game week. And first up on this list, we do have Josko Gvardiol of Manchester City. I think Manchester City have been one of the best defences of the last few weeks. Decent fixtures over the last 2 up against Bournemouth and Fulham. Again, those 2 potentially with not that much to play for, especially Fulham in game week 38. If Palace do manage to win in the FA Cup against them. Guardiola's been playing really well for Manchester City and did shift over into that left-back role last week with the return of Akanji to Manchester City's back 4. Next up on the list is Cucurella. He likes to drink Estrella, and he is one of the defenders with the best attacking positioning for Chelsea. Obviously, when Caicedo plays at right back with Lavia and Enzo in that central midfield role, it means Caicedo inverts into the central midfield role for Chelsea and Enzo pushes onwards, which doesn't allow Cucurella to get forward as much. However, when Reece James comes on for Chelsea and plays in that right back role and allows him to move into that back 3 for Chelsea, Cucurella is one of the furthest players forwards for Chelsea, overlapping on that left-hand side, getting into the box, potential for shots, potential for goals, and is a really nice option for some attacking returns over the last 2 weeks. And a nice fixture against Man United before Nottingham Forest in game week 38. Next up is someone you might not have heard too much about recently. It is Michael Coyote of Brentford. He has been bombing up that right-hand side for Brentford over the last couple of weeks, really linking up nicely with Mbeumo up that right-hand side. And with Brentford, with Fulham and Wolves in the last 2 game weeks, they are some really nice fixtures. Brentford defensively have looked a little bit more solid over the last few weeks as well, keeping a couple of clean sheets. And I think Coyote does have that potential for attacking returns and does provide a really nice differential at 4.5 million into the defence. Next up is Ryan Aït-Nouri. Of course, he is a super attacking defender as well. Has had several shots in the box so far over the last few weeks for Wolves. Has multiple chances for goals, assists. And with Wolves fixtures, Crystal Palace and Brentford in the last 2, he could be a really nice defender to choose. Next up on the list is Luca Dean and Konsa of Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa, for me, have the best fixtures of any team currently in the Premier League for the last 2 games. And it hopefully could turn out that way with Tottenham and Manchester United in their last 2 games. Tottenham, who will have a heavily rotated team in 37 ahead of their Europa League final with Manchester United. And if Manchester United do end up winning that Europa League final, all their players are going to be on the beach, sipping margaritas, having beers, sending it. They are not going to be backing up in game week 38 for a nice game. They're going to have no interest in that. They're going to have shirts off, beers, sun, margaritas, cocktails, loving it on the beach. Villa are going to be all over them. That clean sheet looks really nice for 38, and therefore I think Luca Dean and Konsa could be some really nice picks going forwards. Next up, we do have Daniel Munoz of Crystal Palace, and I do want to say to you guys, do not worry about the expected minutes and the rotation for Crystal Palace for Daniel Munoz. He can score goals, he can get assists, and they're 2 nice fixtures with Wolves and Liverpool over the next 2 games. Again, neither team with a lot to play for. This is not the time in the season to be worrying about expected minutes. If you've got a guy that has a nice fixture and can pick you up points, you've got to be making those risks, taking those differentials at this time in the season. Unless you're looking to protect a lead in a mini league, this is the time to be taking those gambles and looking for those players who could get you big points, regardless of the potential for rotation here. Now, next up, into the sell category, we do have Konate and Trent Alexander-Arnold of Liverpool. Liverpool are pretty much on the beach at the moment already. You saw against Arsenal, they just weren't really switched on that much. Trent Alexander-Arnold's going to be benched for the remaining 2 game weeks, having confirmed he's going to be moving to Real Madrid next season. Connor Bradley will be starting in that right-back role. Potentially, Konate doesn't even start the last 2 games of the season, with Quansah also probably rotating for a couple of those game weeks. Into the hold section, and we do have a hodl section for the defenders. If you do have a Milenkovic or Nico, Robinson, Kirkes, Dean Hodgson or Mikalenko, all of these guys you can potentially hold. I think your transfers are much better off used in the midfielder or attacker section, where you're more likely to pick up those hauls. A quick shout out, if you haven't liked the video or subscribed to the channel yet, please just give us a like if you have been enjoying this video. Subscribe below to the channel if you can and you do want to see more of this. It really does help small content creators like me grow. It has been really great to see a lot of you guys subscribe, liking the videos, commenting down below with your thoughts, and really massively helps out the channel. I appreciate all of you guys. And now on to the midfielders. And onto the midfielders, right at the start here, we do have Brian Mbeumo of Brentford. He is someone that just has great fixtures, in good form, on penalties for Brentford, and really a no-brainer to have in this team over the last couple of game weeks. If you don't have him, definitely someone I'd be looking to bring in. Next up on this list, as I mentioned, I think Aston Villa have probably the best fixtures over the last 2 weeks with Tottenham and Man United, both teams who are going to be looking to heavily rotate for the last couple of game weeks of the season. I think Rodgers and Asensio are probably my favourite picks for Aston Villa, with Jacob Ramsey added in there as a third, who I do expect to start in game week 37. I think Rodgers, again, really nice 90-minute man. And Asensio, with Tielemans' injury, who's likely to miss 37 and probably 38, could be a really nice differential in that number 10 role. There is a chance that he's on penalties, although I probably expect it to be Ollie Watkins. But again, it could provide a nice differential into that midfield. Next up is a man who has caused me great pain over the last couple of weeks. It is Jarrod Bowen. He's in fantastic form at the moment for West Ham. His goals have cost me captaincy decisions, memberships, and all sorts on this channel, losing bets to my subscribers in the live streams over the last couple of weeks. It's all been great fun, except for when Jarrod Bowen's been scoring and I've been kicking off and throwing stuff around my room. But he has been in great form. And although West Ham don't score a lot of goals, the goals that they score are either a Jared Bowen goal or assist, it seems like, over the last few weeks. So he's definitely someone I'd look at bringing into the team for the last couple of the weeks against Forest and Ipswich, who both have been conceding quite a few goals of late. Next up on the list, we do have Kevin De Bruyne and Eberechi Eze. And now I want to stress to you one more time to not fear the expected minutes for these two guys. Now, I know you'll have the concerns that Palace and Man City play in the FA Cup final and then they're going to play midweek. Are these guys going to get rested at all? Well, technically, I think Palace still probably have a lot to play for unless they win that FA Cup final. Manchester City have some really important games. These two guys are very crucial to both teams and do have the potential for big hauls. So you've got to take those chances when they come. You've got to try. This is the time in the season to be taking a few risks, looking to jump that rank and looking for those guys who can get you those big hauls for that 1 or 2 game week period. You can't worry too much about the expected minutes here. And it's definitely something that I would look to take the risk on. Again, unless you're looking to protect a lead in a mini league, then maybe you want to play a little bit safer. But if you're looking to climb rank, if you're looking for differentials, if you're looking to catch people in your mini league, go for these guys and don't worry about the repercussions. Into the tier 2 buy section, we've got Bukayo Saka here. I think he's another guy who's got a bit of a potential for those hauls. And look, if you get these picks wrong, it's only for 1 or 2 weeks. It doesn't matter as much as it would in the middle of the season. You've just got to accept the wrong pick and move on to the next week. Next up, I've got a little bit of a pun. It is Yakuba Minte of Brighton. With Brighton having Liverpool and Tottenham over the last 2 game weeks, I do see potential for quite a few goals for them. They are looking to try and get into one of those European slots. And with Mitoma not having too many minutes at the moment, at 4.8 million, Minte might be a really nice budget option into that midfield if you need a little price point pick there. And finally, in the tier 2 buy section or tier 1.5 buy section, we do have Elanga and Morgan Gibbs-White of Nottingham Forest. They do really need to win their last 2 game weeks to qualify for the Champions League. They've got West Ham and Chelsea. They are going to need to score goals here. And these 2 guys are the main threats for Nottingham Forest, with Hudson-Odoi currently out. And we're not sure if he'll be back for the last 2 weeks. There are no holds for the midfielders this week. Everyone is up for grabs. Anyone could be a sell. I don't think anyone is safe. I don't think there's anyone that you should definitely hold on to, regardless of if someone is a nice price point for you, someone you're considering selling, and you've got one of these tier 1 buys or tier 2 buys that you want to punt on. I am happy for you guys to take out anybody, and that does include the man himself, Mo Salah. For me, he'd probably be someone that I would keep in the side, but if you want to get rid of him and take that punt, I'm not going to say he's a must-hold anymore. The last 2 game weeks, everything goes. Into the sell category, before we hit that sell category, if you do watch my live streams, I've added this one in there for you guys. Mohamed Kudus, the GOAT. Little differential option. If he bags in the last couple of weeks, I will be doing some giveaways to my subscribers, to the people that are in my live streams. Here he is, the main man, Mohamed Kudus. Into the sell section, and we do have Ismail Assar. Please get rid of this guy. He's been killing us. Get out. Get gone. See you later, Ismaila. It's time to go. Eze has been absolutely demolishing him over the last 7-8 weeks, and it is time to move on from Ismail Assar. Next up is Bruno Fernandes. There is absolutely 0% chance that he starts in game week 37. He will definitely be rested for that Europa League final for Manchester United. Not worth holding on to for game week 38, where United have a difficult fixture against Aston Villa. So for me, he's a sell. See you later, Bruno. Quick shout out, if you haven't already, please remember to like the channel, subscribe down below if you have been enjoying this content. That small things really does help my small channel grow, and I really appreciate all of you guys that contribute to that. So thank you very much. And on to the forwards. Into the forward line and on the tier 1 buy section, we do have Ollie Watkins leading the way. As I mentioned, Villa with probably the best fixtures over the last 2 weeks, with Tottenham and Manchester United both out in Cancun, relaxing, sipping on the margaritas and the cocktails on the beach, maybe partying in Zante for the winners of the Europa League. We will see. The Ibiza clubs do look tempting. Next up on the tier 1 buy, welcome back, my old friend. Here he is, Erling Haaland, back in action for Manchester City, starting last game week for them. I know he didn't manage to score any goals, but with Manchester City with 2 nice fixtures against Bournemouth and Fulham, and in some pretty nice form apart from that 0-0 draw against Southampton last week, Erling Haaland always has the potential for mega hauls. So he is someone that if you haven't been to the bank yet and deposited your cash, you got a few spare dollars lying around, spare pounds lying around, spare millions lying around, and they're burning a hole in your pocket, here's the man for you. Erling Haaland, get him in the side. Next up, and someone I really like at the moment, is Matheus Cunha. He can get goals, he can get assists, he's on set pieces, he does a bit of everything for Wolves. And with Jorgen Strand-Larsen looking like he's getting back to fitness again and he might be available for starting next week, it does mean that Cunha might slot back into his preferred 10 role behind the striker, where his creativity is just so immense for Wolves and he's so involved in everything they does. I think he is a really nice pick and probably up there with my favourites for this week. Finally, rounding out the tier 1 buys is Yoane Wissa of Brentford. I think I've spoken about so much this year. Yoane Wissa just being a fantastic pick. He's got incredible footballing IQ. And for those of you that have watched my tactical analysis videos from earlier in the season, where that was a little bit more important in deciding on teams, I spoke at length about Yoane Wissa having just fantastic footballing IQ, able to pick up those positions, able to get in those gaps, get in behind defences, pick up the gaps and get into those spaces and make those runs in behind where he's just so dangerous. Even in the Ivan Toney areas, he was often picking up late goals with late runs into the box, and he's just showing his class again this year for Brentford. In the tier 2 buys, and this is very close really, we do have Chris Wood again. Forest needing to score goals, obviously win games. He obviously picked up a goal last game week for those of you like me that did bring him into the team. A really nice addition. And with the last 2 weeks against West Ham and Chelsea, definitely some potential for goals. Again, another bit of a differential punty pick here. We've got Danny Welbeck and João Pedro for the last 2 game weeks for Brighton. Brighton up against Liverpool and Tottenham, 2 teams where I really do think they could, again, be on the beach and potential for some goals scored against them. So this is a bit of a pump pick and a bit of a left field if you want to go with something different. And then we do have Jorgen Strand-Larsen. If you don't feel big about Cunha, if you aren't happy with him leaving Wolves at the end of the season, probably to go to another team, Jorgen Strand-Larsen could be another option for Wolves. And finally, just because I had a few people asking me about him, and the Everton assets this week, I have added in Beto here. However, I do think Southampton are a much improved team over the last few weeks. And with Newcastle in their final week in game week 38, I think they could be 2 fixtures, which might be a little bit difficult. But Beto does sneak in here just as a potential differential if you want to go for something different in my final tier 2 buy. And once again, there are no holds for the forwards. Anything goes, anyone can go. And into the sell section, I do have some very interesting people in there. And I would like to say to you, if you do want further details on why these guys are in sell, drop a comment down below. I'm happy to give more detail about why I think these are all sells for you guys this week, and any of these guys should be looking at moving out of your team if you can. We've got Isak, see you later. Mamouche, see you later. Mateta, get out of there. Jackson, he's suspended. Gakpo, who the hell cares about Liverpool these days? Jimenez, yeah, well, see you later as well, mate. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe down to the channel below if you have enjoyed this content. See you later in the week for the deadline stream. This has been your English Aussie. Thank you very much, guys, and have a great game week.